Ex-tropical cyclone Alfred has been downgraded to a tropical low, but plenty of warnings are still in place. This emergency is far from over. We've seen damage to buildings, we've seen widespread power outages, with the system still packing wind gusts of up to 85 kilometres an hour.
After a sleepless night, residents right across southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales are being warned of prolonged and intense rainfall, which could lead to life-threatening flash flooding.
Okay, let's get the latest now from the Weather Bureau's Miriam Bradbury. Miriam, thank you very much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your time.
Yeah, not a problem. It's certainly still an unfolding event, so happy to be here. Now, the tropical system is still sitting off the coast. It hasn't quite made landfall on the mainland coast just yet. That is expected in the next hour or two, somewhere between Maroochydore and Bribie Island. But as you mentioned, it is now an ex-tropical cyclone, a tropical low. And so just as a reminder for everyone, the category of a tropical cyclone is tied to the wind strength. So while we're not seeing those strongest wind gusts anymore, we are still seeing that rain and flooding risk continuing. Widespread flash flooding has been seen across parts of southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales in the past 24 hours as that rain has started to come in, and that will really be our focus for today as well. The system is still dragging in significant moisture from the tropics, and basically that's acting as fuel to any showers and storms that do develop. So we're likely to see further heavy falls through the course of today, with the focus really being through far northeastern New South Wales, through the Gold Coast and towards Brisbane. Those areas are likely to see their wettest day today, with more flash flooding on the way. And of course, that water will feed into our river systems and feed into that ongoing riverine flooding that's already developing at this point in time.
Miriam, what sort of rainfall totals have we seen so far, and what can we expect over the rest of today?
So fairly widespread rainfall totals in the overnight period of over 120, 130 millimetres per hour. In that period, I should say. The top rainfall totals, more isolated, have been in excess of 200 to 250 millimetres. And this is on top of a couple of very wet days previously. So those rainfall accumulations are really mounting up probably above half a metre at this point for some parts of northeastern New South Wales. Through the rest of today, though, our severe weather warning is flagging the continued risk really of 6 hourly rainfall totals above 100 millimetres, 24-hour totals above 2 to 250 millimetres for some areas, and of course those areas most at risk do include some of those elevated parts around the border ranges, those sort of areas too. So be aware of that heavy rain risk continuing and flash flooding causing further problems through the course of today.
Okay, so as you mentioned, it has stalled and it's now been downgraded to a tropical low, but he's still having trouble. We know there was a lot of difficulty really tracking it before. Is that still the case now, or you pretty much know exactly how it's going to move as it moves across the mainland?
So the main challenge with this forecast for Tropical Cyclone Alfred, as it was the fact that it started moving very, very slowly under the influence of a lot of different winds in the atmosphere. When it interacted with the offshore islands, Moreton Island, etc., around midnight last night, that's when it started weakening even more significantly. However, it's now sitting, as I said, close to Bribie Island, and our forecast is pretty set. We are expecting it to cross the coast in the next couple of hours. It's still slow moving, but the more slow moving it is, the more of an opportunity it actually has to bring in that heavy rain and continue to direct it along the coast. But focusing on that coastal crossing is sort of overlooking the fact that we're likely to see these heavy rainfall totals continuing after it's made its crossing as well. So today, as I mentioned, being an extremely wet day, particularly for the Gold Coast and Brisbane, as we go into tomorrow, the focus for that rain is likely to shift slightly westwards as the system brings that rainfall, brings that moisture a little bit further inland. So one way or the other, a very wet weekend with that risk of flooding ongoing.